This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill.
I'm somewhat more comfortable collecting real estate than I am collecting other stuff.
This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill. We just interviewed Matt Damon from BroadleafREI, REI standing for Real Estate Investing. Bill, what'd you think?
Matt Damon was extremely impressive. What I did realize going into this that he started this real estate career in 2019, and then he went on to explain that he's done 25 deals since, and the type of deals that he's done and the team that he has built is absolutely impressive, and the way that he's able to plan and project manage these deals along the way, he makes it seem so routine.
Extremely impressive. We talked to a lot of real estate investors, but this guy is going on a downhill ramp at a very fast speed, and I can't wait to see where that car goes. He talks about flipping all the 25 deals he's done in the last 2 years. He has experience in construction. He has experience in corporate finance. A lot of good tips in this one.
Yeah, add land development to that, and yeah, I can't wait to watch his ride.
And it seems like the overall theme is taking consistent action, and that's definitely an important message there.
Sure is.
Matt, thank you for being here this morning. Always great to have another Jake and Gino member on the podcast. Excited to hear more about your real estate adventure. Can we get right into it? I want to hear about your background and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the Collecting Real Estate podcast. Excited to be here. My journey started back in 2019, probably similar to a lot of readers. I was reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was at the intersection of a big, major intersection in my life where I was having my first child. And at the same time, my business that I was working with, I was working in corporate finance, had a really nice job going, great team, great company. But we were going through, we were kind of changing up our business. And so two of my close coworkers that I'd worked with for 7 years, they were let go. And I just remember the fear in their eyes. And here I am thinking about, they're like older guys. They're in their 50s and 60s. They got kids in high school, kids in college. And I just remember that fear that they had as they were getting. And that motivated me. Having a new baby on the way, I really thought about like, hey, that could be me in 15 years. So I got a plan for this. And so that's where I started. Bought my first rental property in 2020. And we actually just sold it a couple weeks ago. I buy today distressed assets, so mostly it's single families, small multi, and we just actually closed our first medium-sized multifamily, which was 7 units. So that's a broad overview of what I've been doing and where I'm going. I'm looking definitely to get more into to create more passive income. That's a big piece of what I'm chasing after.
Excellent. So you learn by watching a few people that have been a W-2 for a long time get that rude awakening, losing their jobs at that point in their lives, which, yeah, that's eye-opening for sure. And all I can think of is we're all in control of our own destiny, and start young and control your own destiny very early. Seeing that you just started in 2019, you're playing around with flips. Do you have construction background where you're able to analyze these types of opportunities and jump right in with some of that work, or managing contractors? How has that been for you?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually gone really well. So my background, I grew up in a blue collar family. My dad built decks and put additions on the house and was very hands on that in that regard. And then all through high school, I had a job as electrician's apprentice. I started a painting business at a young age, did landscaping. So, in college, did roofing. I've kind of done, you know, a little bit. I've touched a little bit of a lot, which has been helpful to have like a broad overview. Um, and then I spent the first couple of years of my career after I got my MBA. I spent the first couple of years doing land development for renewable energy projects. and we were doing some here in Massachusetts, where I'm based, some in Canada, some in Africa. We were doing some pretty cool projects, but that gave me the opportunity to get in front of you know different town departments like the zoning board of appeals and have a butters meetings and all those things. So what I didn't realize is that, 10 years ago, that work that I was doing would help build a foundation that would springboard me, onto where I am now. And so we're closing on our 25th real estate deal in a little over 2 years, which is amazing. So, we've been absolutely cruising along. Some of those have been flips, some of them have been wholesale, some of them are rentals. Um, but we like things that are distressed. That's kind of our niche. We buy distressed properties. We bring in the experts. Real estate, as you know, is not about, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know who to bring in. And so you get something under contract in a lot of cases, and then we bring in the experts. We ask them the questions, bring in the right people, because I don't know everything about construction. Don't want to know everything about construction. I think our niche is finding and funding properties.
Man, a lot of good stuff there. I like that you say you have to bring the right people in. I always think of executing a real estate deal kind of like putting a puzzle together, because there's the deal, there's the financing. You might need private money for that financing, and then you need the right contractors. And you just have to be that entrepreneur to put that puzzle all together. 25 deals in 2 years is definitely impressive. And I'm sure your construction knowledge has helped with that quick growth. How has your finance knowledge also helped? Because you're in the corporate finance world, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I spent a decade doing finance and analytics, and so I feel like one of the things that set us apart from others is that we're really able to get into the data, pull large amounts of data of whether it's homes sold over the past, to price out what is this house worth after it's repaired, uh, running numbers to say, okay, like modeling financial scenarios, like if we spend this much, this is what our return looks like, this is what we think we could get for the property, and looking at comps and so forth. And so that has helped a lot. I think it's also given us a lot of credibility. Like we I understand how to certainly analyze deals, but also how to manage money. And so a big piece of my business is private partners that will join up and lend cash on these transactions, and making sure we're giving them, one, a great return, and that they're protected. That's the big thing. So we've been able to raise about seven figures over the last 2 years in private capital, and return all of that with interest. To the lenders, which has been fantastic. And once you learn how to kind of manage these projects, how to raise capital, I mean, you're kind of running. We take the proceeds from that, we roll that into rental properties.
Yeah, and geez, you've really built some momentum. So you certainly have credibility. You've done 25 deals in the last 2 years, so the credibility is established. We all know to do 25 deals in 2 years. You just told us part of the recipe to that is working with private lenders to help you fund those purchases and fund the construction to get them to those finished values so you can sell them or put them in your portfolio. How do you find these deals?
Some of it's networking. So there's people out there that are wholesalers. I'm not sure if that term's a familiar term. So what a wholesaler is, it's a person that will find, whether it's a single family, small multifamily, or even the 7 unit we bought from wholesalers. There are individuals that they tend to not have the capital, or they have too many projects going to keep all the projects that they have going. So they'll send out, whether it's direct mail, they'll cold call, they'll text, they'll find people that have property that are looking to sell it, and they'll connect that seller to someone like myself who wants to buy it, and they'll take a fee on behalf. So wholesaling has been a piece of this. Networking with agents has been a huge piece of this. And then just sharing your credibility as you put in offers that may be on the MLS, like houses that may be on the MLS. So I wouldn't say that there's one single channel that we're getting most of our deals from, but a lot of it is just taking consistent action, showing up, looking every day across wherever you're, and the the geography that I'm willing to go to is kind of far. I'm willing to drive anywhere that's within an hour of my house to kind of get these projects going. And we don't swing hammers. We don't do any of that. We hire it all out. We just do the funding, the financing, and the project management of it.
Taking consistent action and just showing up. That's half of it, right?
Right.
Do you,
Yeah. I mean, it's just showing up. You show up every day. You take one little step forward, and it's amazing if you do that where you can end up going. Like, never in my wildest dreams did I think that I'd be on project 25. No, no way. Like, not a chance. Not 2 years in. And I remember we had set, our goal for our first year. We set it to do 5 properties. Now I'm on 0 at this point, and we're like, we're gonna try to do 5 properties this year. And that was like, I remember like not believing it myself, and I remember my wife laughing at me and saying I need to set realistic goals, right? And she was being kind about it. She wasn't like degrading, but it was, she's like, you need to make sure your goals are achievable. But if you take consistent action, you're gonna find opportunities everywhere.
and that's applicable to so many things outside of real estate too, right? Like going to the gym, learning a new sport, anything, just showing up every day.
Yep.
So, do you have a team behind you? It's not just you doing 25 flips in 2 years, is it?
Yeah, so I do have a team. I hired a woman in the summer, this past summer, so summer of 2021, who focuses solely on acquisitions. So she's checking the market every day, looking for opportunities, trying to kind of take everything that's out there and just come up with 1 or 2 properties that we want to put an offer on. Network with others. That's been a big piece of her role. And she's awesome. She's kind of set me free to do project management, but even project management became too much. We had 5 or 6 projects going at one time. That was just too much. You couldn't focus on raising capital and making sure that everyone's being communicated to in a proper way and they know where the status is of each of their projects. So we ended up hiring a project manager, and that's I went with an awesome project manager. Her name's Emily, and she's kind of my eyes and ears on a lot of these things. And when there's, we can FaceTime instead of me driving out to each project and so forth, which bought back time on my end. So yeah, we do have a team. We're keeping it intentionally small. I don't want to grow much beyond this. Just want to keep it as small as possible.
Staying organized. We all know that's super, super important. There comes the project manager. And getting back to setting those realistic goals, I had put a lot of thought into this over the last year on the goal setting and creating a great action plan and that big important why. So, you could have that great why, that great action plan, but if you're setting that unrealistic goal, you're left having the big why and doing all that work, but with an unrealistic goal, you're like, oh my God, what happened? And talk about the ultimate frustration. So, no, I do appreciate setting realistic goals is key. And realizing that you're doing a lot of flipping, and I think you said that you got into a 7 unit. Are we starting to go bigger? And what are are you looking to get into much larger multifamily?
Yeah, so I have a budget that's shared broadly with my team that says if we hit these numbers, we're on track. And everything beyond that, we just pump into buying rental properties. And yeah, so bigger is definitely the direction we're going to. I'd rather manage like 2 or 3 projects than 10 single families going. So this 7 unit that we bought, it's a medium renovation. Basically, every unit needs to be touched in some capacity, and we'll rent that out. We'll end up holding it. We'll do a cash out refinance on it. It'll return, significant portion of the capital back, and so the investors will be looking at having a project that will cash flow for the next 7 to 10 years, and it'll cash flow really nicely. That's the beauty of why I buy distressed properties and try to buy bigger ones. If you're over 5 units, they value it based on a business. They look at your financials and they say, okay, you're producing this much net operating income. Your capex is this, and if we run the numbers on those things, we think that it's a successful deal. We get cash flow after we do the refinance. It's something that we pursue. So that's kind of the journey that we're on. We're going after the bigger ones.
Was this plan to go bigger part of your decision to join the Jake and Gino community?
Absolutely. I didn't know much around you know doing anything beyond 5 units. My biggest deal had been 4 units. It was a buy and hold property that or should say it was a fix and hold property, and so definitely wanted to go much larger. Recognize that you can't flip forever. I mean, it's a never ending job. It is a job. Um, but being full time working in real estate that enabled me to buy more projects that had passive income opportunities, cash flowing assets, right? And that's why you set all my goals around like finding properties that produce cash for us. Yes, we do flips; it is a big piece of our business, but that's not the end goal.
Right. So then you're creating more businesses. You have that business that you're very busy with right now, and that's doing very, very well for you. And then you join that mentorship group, which a lot of us have our minds on scaling that multifamily portfolio. And what we've realized now is constantly networking, trying to find synergy with different people within the group. We're all very like-minded, or most of us are very like-minded with a lot of similar goals, but you have to find those partnerships where you have those complementary skill sets. So how are you
Right.
doing with that? And do you have a certain deal criteria, areas that you're interested in?
Yeah. So I would say the Jake and Gino community is amazing. The culture there is incredible. It's full of great people, like you said, Bill. And yeah, I mean, networking is a big piece of this. So I'm constantly picking up the phone, connecting with folks. Not as much as I'd like to, but I'm certainly making sure that it's something that is on my to-do list each week to make sure that I'm being intentional about building relationships with others and learning from others. Um, in terms of what are we looking for, we're trying to stay as much in our market as we can. We're in the Massachusetts market. It's not an area that is super landlord friendly and not an area that's super tenant friendly. It's kind of like, in the middle of the road for most states, if you like to graph out where it stands relative to the other states. So we're looking to stay in this area. Massachusetts doesn't have a lot of buildings that are 30, 40, 50, 60 units. So I think that we'll probably end up with a larger collective of buildings that tend to be like 10 units, 15 units, 5 units, that kind of thing. And that's what we're chasing after right now. The conveyor belt model is something that we talk a lot about. The conveyor belt model is something where you're buying a property each year, and over time, as that moves up the conveyor belt, as time goes by, those fall off, and you sell a property, and you take the proceeds of that, right? That's where you make most of your money on the sale of an asset. So at that point, I think we'll probably take when we sell our assets, we'll probably take the cash from that and put it into other markets. But I think we're 5 years out from that. I think for the most part.
You a Boston sports fan?
I love the Patriots, man. I watch them all the time. I was sad to see Tom Brady go to Tampa.
I could tell I liked it. Well, we like Tampa too, but okay. It's refreshing to hear someone say that they want to invest in Massachusetts. It feels like every single syndicator wants to be in that Sun Belt, those new hot markets. Why are you starting with Massachusetts? Do you just know that market better than anywhere else?
Yeah, it's boots on the ground. You could get stuck in analysis paralysis trying to find where you want to invest and how you want to. I mean, there's so many great markets that are out there. And I had a call with Anthony Vicino, and when I was talking to him, he invests in Minneapolis. I said that's not a very landlord friendly place, and he's had a lot of success there. And so he's like, "Hey, listen, you already have a business. You're already successful in this area. You already have credibility. You don't have to go prove your credibility. If you have good deals, why would you pass them up?" And I was like, you know what? That's a really good point. We have good deals. We have deal flow. We're building a name for ourselves. We have a track record. Why don't we just continue staying here? So it's not that I won't look at opportunities outside of our area, but at this point, that's where I'm primarily focused.
No, I can understand that. Geez, I've been in the great state of New York my entire career, and been rolling my eyes for a few years. Boy, I love New York, but the last couple years have been very difficult because they've created so much uncertainty for us landlords. We need certainty. We're in a business where, there's enough with projections, and we don't need this uncertainty of what is the next tenant landlord law that they're going to change that literally massively affects our business. And I know Massachusetts has some similarities there, and I know Anthony has some of those same challenges in Minneapolis. I think he's had something similar that our local city of Albany has done. I believe he's dealt with that challenge of that similar, what we call in Albany, the good cause eviction, which ultimately, is to a certain degree rent control, along with a lot of other things that are not positive on the landlord side, which, as I shifted away from a lot of the small properties, I still take, me and Steven still take advantage of some local stuff because opportunities are presented here. I've been doing business here for a very long time and have credibility and have a certain amount of deal flow, but we love Tampa. The deals that I've gotten involved in Tampa have performed super, super well. So I'm anxious to continue to play around in that second market. Seeing that you have, that land development experience and knowledge, do you plan on doing any of that where you would be doing, ground up construction?
We do have a ground up construction going on right now. Yeah. So we bought a house that was abandoned for about 10 years. We planned on rehabbing it. And as we were going through the design phase, getting the architect kind of pulled in, he was kind of asking the question. He's like, why don't you just tear this thing down? He's like, this is a block foundation. It's hard to work with. He's like, you'll probably make more. And so we ran the numbers, and he was right. We could probably make a little bit more or the same if we started fresh. So we are doing a little bit of land development, but to your point, Bill, like there's opportunity for large townhome developments, kind of bigger units, buy to rent, or sorry, build to rent opportunities. We haven't really explored that as much as I would like to, but it's certainly in the future it's in the cards. We'll be definitely doing some larger construction projects. The house we're building right now, it's exciting. We're starting framing on Monday. It took us about a year to get to here, so we started in July. We bought the project in July, and we finally got to tear it down a couple weeks ago. We got all of our approvals in place, all the design work, and it's a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3-car garage house, 3,200 square feet that we're targeting $1.4 million for. So it's a bigger project. It's exciting. It's been a really fun ride, So excited to do more of this because it's way easier than renovating houses.
Again, it sounds like you have experience in every part of this industry. And on these bigger deals, Bill and I often like to discuss the buckets that different investors can fill with their knowledge and their skills. When you start getting into these larger deals, 60, 100 units, and you're a co-GP on these assets, where do you see yourself fitting in? Since you have experience and knowledge in every bucket, it seems like.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe I consider myself a little bit of a dreamer in some sense. So I like being like the person that's going out and like analyzing and finding and getting excited about the future. I don't want to be the guy who's like checking the rent roll every month to like make sure like what is this charge over here. That's not really what I am. I'm the big picture guy.
Mhm.
My role has been capital raiser, and that's where I want to be. So it's going to be helping to find properties, helping to analyze them, and then bring capital to the deal. I see myself at some point just being a capital raiser, and less of the other components.
Oh, very interesting. That's certainly very, very valuable. We always talk about, finding that deal and finding money for
Yeah,
that deal. But, the one area that I seem to enjoy a lot, not necessarily on that day to day, as, as a property manager for a long, long time, but, you're able to develop that skill set of what you don't necessarily enjoy is staring at that rent roll. And, Stephen
Right.
and I right now are in the middle of a project where we're staring at that rent roll. And
Yep.
I emphasize all the time on that's our most important tool right now as the asset managers
Yes.
on this reposition project that we're doing. And, I'm just an operations guy. And I love to see that repositioning happening from unit by unit. The one area that
Yeah, Bill.
I don't have a whole lot experience, the project that you just started, where you've been working on this for a year and now you finally have approvals, you're going to be breaking ground. That's where I don't seem to have that patience level to go through that long process where you don't see anything physical happen for up to a year. Do you enjoy that process where you're getting your entitlements right up until finally you get that building permit?
There's a little bit of a grind to it, but I really enjoy the design phase of it, like where you're like saying, what could this be? That's like the big picture stuff I love doing, and you're running numbers on it and analyzing like what is other houses in the area selling for. I really enjoy that. The element of coming in and going to the abutters meetings, I don't necessarily enjoy that. Getting in front of the zoning board of appeals, that's all fine stuff. I don't have any problems with that, but it's not something that um, I love it when I look back and say, like, look what we've accomplished and look at where we've been able to drive. But there's some speed bumps and roadblocks in the process where you're like, you know I don't know. It just you have to work through it, and as long as you have multiple projects, as long as it's not the only thing you're working on, you can manage your stress levels. I think that your anxiety can kind of eat you alive if that's your one deal and everything's riding on one project. So having multiple things in the hopper is definitely a big piece of like makes it go a lot easier because it is a slow process. You're working with town governments. You're working with municipalities, utility companies, all this kind of stuff where they don't move at the turn of a dime, right? They don't move at the turn of the hat. Bill, what are you looking to do in this space? It seems like you're interested in some design and build kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know. I was just texted from my brother who is a paving contractor. He has a lot of contacts because he's a paving contractor. He does a lot of work for people that own multifamily and people that own land to build subdivisions, stuff like that. So a gentleman who's been in the business for 30 or 40 years had mentioned to him he's interested in selling his 57 unit. And what's included in that also is a chunk of land that has approval for up to 100-unit multifamily. So is that outside of what I've ever done? Absolutely. I'm not a new construction guy. My roots are from buying a single or a two family distressed, doing the renovations, the rehab, taking care of that upside, putting in a portfolio. So I always explain myself over the years. I'm a rehabber, and that's my expertise. The 15 unit that Stephen and I are doing right now fits that bill, where it's not necessarily a rehab project. It's more of light turns, which is comfortable for me because I don't need to be able to do big heavy turns. I'd rather do light turns and get the same outcome with a lot
Right.
less work. That's much more suitable. But to answer your question, man, with the right team,
Right.
that is certainly intriguing to be able to get into an existing 57 unit and then to be able to plan 100 unit on that adjacent property. I would just need the proper partners to make that happen. That is certainly not
Well,
something that I could head up on my own.
absolutely. And there's sort of two elements to that. Like it seems like the entitlement work, a lot of it may have already been done on that. So you've taken land that was just land and someone's gone through the process of doing some sort of design, some sort of rendering, bringing it before the planning board and getting approvals. the necessary approvals to do something like that. So you're right. If you bring in the right partners, this is all about knowing the right people, putting the right people in the right places, because we're going to have our areas that we're really strong at, and there are going to be some things that we just don't know, right? I don't have 40 years of construction experience, but I brought in a builder who had 40 years of construction experience. He was the one who he would ask critical questions, and I'd be like, I've never thought about that, but that's why I hired him, right? These are the things that this is his role, and so I think that, to your point, Bill, if that's something you're looking to pursue, it's absolutely the right way to go. Like, go chase after it if the numbers work, and if it's in your wheelhouse and the direction you want to go, and then partner with the right people. They're there.
No, no, no. Go ahead, Steve.
Matt, hearing you talk over the last half hour about putting people in the right place, liking the big picture, and solving problems with other deals in the hopper, you're definitely describing what an entrepreneur is to me. When I got my master's in entrepreneurship, we spent a lot of time studying what is an entrepreneur, and you definitely fit that mold. It sounds like you had a little bit of a aha moment in 2019 in your corporate job that you wanted to be in an entrepreneurship role. Are you still in the corporate world at all, or what's that transition been like for you?
Yeah, so my goal was never to leave my corporate America job. I had a fantastic job, a great team, and after we renovated that first duplex that we bought, someone approached me and they said, "Hey, you want to flip a house?" And or do you flip houses? I said, "Yeah, of course I flip houses." I never flipped a house in my life. Didn't know anything about it. Knew I wanted to, but never done it. It was funny, we that's how we got started into flipping, and we made good money on that. Soon the flipping replaced my income from my primary job, and I think keeping my corporate job while flipping on nights, early mornings, getting up at 4 in the morning, working I was very consistent, 4 to 6, just about every day, because my kids were still sleeping, my wife was still sleeping. It was distraction free, and working on my business, then going to my 9 to 5, you know, bringing my girls to daycare, going to 9 to 5, picking them up, being a dad, and then after they went to bed, it was working on the business, and eventually my real estate income surpassed my W-2 income, and it was like, well, listen, we're doing this part time. What would happen if we did this full time? And it was a risk, but we had built up such a business that had totally replaced my income, and so it's like, okay, now we can step out and kind of pursue this. And we talk a lot about passive income, collecting real estate. The whole point of collecting real estate is to have income producing properties that cover your bills. And so, like, our first year goal was we wanted $4,000 a month that covered our housing costs, taxes, insurance, and housing or mortgage. And we were basically able to do that. So now I have a year's worth of salary set aside. I have cash coming in that's covering a big chunk of my bills. My wife works; she has a great job, and that was our runway. That was our runway to kind of pursue this full time. And there's no looking back at this point. It was the scariest and best thing that I ever did. You can always go find another W-2 job. They're great. I had a great one. Would it be hard to replace that exact job? Sure, but there are other great jobs out there.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. What you were able to build that income up where a lot of that uncertainty, wasn't so uncertain for you. You've been able to go step by step by step. The way you just explained it, it just didn't seem to have a lot of risk attached to that. What advice do you
It
have?
certainly felt
I'm
risky.
sorry.
It certainly felt risky.
Well, of course it did. Of course it did. But you explain it so well, and you have a lot going on, and you have a great team in place where you guys are doing plenty of business, and I'm sure your projections are right on point. What advice do you have to other working professionals, W-2 people that aspire to do what you've done?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I get asked this a lot. In my a lot of people say, should I quit my job and pursue real estate full time? I say no. You have time. You have more time than you realize. If you check your iPhone, it tells you how much time you spend and where you spend your time on your phone. And if you look at that, you'll find like social media takes up for most of us a lot of our time, right? So my advice to you is set a time that you're willing to just focus on your dreams. Set your goals, go through the goal setting process, You start taking consistent action, build your foundation of your knowledge foundation of what you want. What do you want to do? Want to do short-term rentals? Fine. Learn everything you can about it and take consistent action towards that. But keep your job. Don't tell anyone what you're doing. Just keep working on it and just keep grinding and focus on that goal. Read your goals every day. It's all going to help. That's what
And I
I
think
would tell people. It's that consistency, and it comes down to scheduling what you want when you want it. And for me, that was from 4 to 6 every day. I knew I could do that. There was nothing that was going to get in my way. I never woke up at 4 a.m. before this, but that's what I started doing, and that was my game changer.
when your why is strong enough, you can wake up at 4 a.m. And you can
Yeah,
collect real estate as a W-2 employee, and you'll know when it's the right time to burn that bridge.
right. You're able to scale so much faster if you don't need to rely on anything from the real estate you're producing, right? So if you have a W-2 job that's paying your salary, paying your housing costs, and everything else, 100% of your real estate proceeds can be used to make more real estate proceeds, right? You don't need it.
Yeah.
Matt, you did
You're
25
absolutely
deals in the last 2 years. How many are you doing in the next two?
I'm focused on fewer deals and more cash flow, right? So, we'll. I'm sure we buy a house a month. I'm sure that will continue for a couple more years, but eventually I want to fully transition into, the 5, 10, 16, 20 units and probably do a couple of new builds a year. I mean, in our area, it's highly desirable. It's highly profitable. It's expensive, but it's a lot of fun. So I've set all my goals around like bringing my passive income up to next levels. Continuing. My goal is to take my wife out of her job. She has a great job. She probably will never leave it, but have the option if she ever wanted to. That hey, listen, we don't need it. And so that's my goal is to fully replace her salary with passive income.
Cool, cool. Geez, you seem to have it very well planned out. I'm impressed by that. Matt, this is the Collecting Real Estate podcast. So they say you have to have three of something to make a collection. So we have three questions for you to finish this episode. Number one, in 5 words or so, what's the most important thing you've learned since you started collecting real estate?
I think I can boil it down to 3 words, and that's take consistent action.
Yes. Number two, what are your 1 to 2 year personal goals?
Personal goals. So right now I'm on the 75-day challenge, which is
I was hoping that you were going to
working
bring
out
that
twice.
up.
Oh my goodness, it's basically I need to read 10 pages a day, work out twice a day, 45 minutes each. No alcohol, weigh yourself, stay on a diet, that kind of thing. And I'm on day 3. I like a good beer just along with anyone else. So 75 days without a single beer is going to be brutal. Might be the honest answer, but yeah, that's something I want to do. And I bought a mountain bike recently. I've been having a blast getting out in the woods and just kind of like decompressing, out on the bike. And so I want to do a lot more of that. I just really enjoyed it.
Cool, cool.
Good for you. But at least you're smart to do it in the springtime going into the summer. We interviewed Joe Loon 3 episodes ago. He did it in upstate New York in the middle of winter. That's
It's tough.
something else.
No,
I tough during winter, tough during the summer. Maybe the spring and the fall make it a little bit easier, I guess.
Break it up. 30 in the spring, 30 in the fall.
Right?
and you can think of a lot of words that go along with that 75-day challenge. And you're mentioning, you at least like, you enjoy that beer every now and then, and along with a lot of the other stuff, that word discipline, really comes to mind. Number 3, how can we and the listeners assist you, and how do we contact you?
Yeah, so contact us through Instagram. We're at BroadleafREI, stands for Real Estate Investments. BroadleafREI on Instagram. We'd love to boost our following, and we partner with people all the time on real estate deals, and so folks that have deals that perhaps you don't have the capital or you don't have the experience to raise the capital, and you're looking for someone who's experienced that's willing to come in and help push a project along, I'm happy to partner with folks and to build joint ventures and so forth on certain deals. So, yeah, I think that would be fantastic. So follow us, and if you have something that you need help analyzing something, send it our way. We're happy to help. I mean, we have the capacity, and we've done this several times, so we're happy to assist.
Awesome. Awesome, Matt. You've been a fantastic guest. I've got to know you a little bit here over the last year and a half, and I was looking forward to talking to you. I did not realize how successful you've been in the real estate space. So, congratulations for that, and keep up the fantastic work. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Matt.